Hey everyone, welcome to the Anarchy Podcast. 99% of traders will never make consistent profits. So why listen to the 99% of advice? On this show, we're going to challenge some of the most hallowed and repeated tenets of trading. And in doing so, set you up to succeed where others fail. Spoiler alert, we don't have a secret strategy or magic wand that will let you skip out on the hard work of learning the markets. But we can debunk viewpoints that are holding you back. If that sounds good to you, come join us. And welcome to the Anarchy Podcast. Do you ever wish an experienced trader would sit you down and tell you everything they wish they'd known when they started trading? Well, today's show is for you. For the next few episodes, Jordan and I are going to go over our story and look at what we would do if we could do it all over again. The lessons we learned. We're going to start off kind of broad today, looking at the lessons we learned and what we would tell somebody who's wanted to start or who has started. And then in the coming episodes, we're going to get a little bit more granular into the resources we recommend, the training plans, best practices, and so on and so forth. But today, we wanted to start with just a little bit of our background, how we got into trading, and I'll throw it over to you, Jordan. How you doing?
Hey, doing well. Very excited about this topic, something I'm pretty passionate about. And so, to kick it off, I think it'd be great if we shared a little bit just about how did we get into trading in the first part. So, Levi, how did you get into trading? I mean, yes, I think I asked you to join the course from me, but what's your interest in trading? How did that develop?
Yeah, I was interested. I'd kind of gotten into kind of briefly trading before, like a year or two before you kind of came to me with a proposition to like go into a course together. I'm an engineer and I was working in my engineering job, and had read some books and did some paper trading, which is, obviously not really trading legit, but had definitely had interest and had never kind of dove in. But yeah, read a lot of books, had kind of done everything but actually trade. So and that's when I think I kind of sat on that for a year or two before you on your own came to me and said, "Hey, you want to go into a course together? Want to go into day trading?" I don't even know if I told you that I've been reading a bunch of day trading books. It just kind of happened. Yeah.
Yeah, it just happened. We happened to be doing it at the same time. And my story was a little bit different. I've been overseas pretty much for the last, 12, 15 years. And of being that way, I always look for different creative ways to make money. And so even back, 2016, I think, I was mining Bitcoin. Like I had seen something about YouTube about like mining Bitcoin and mining different altcoins. And so I first was introduced to trading actually in crypto, because I was mining Bitcoin and then selling it and on some of the exchanges. And I really wish I'd hung on to all my Dogecoin back then. Oh my word. I would not be talking today if I had held on to all of my Dogecoin from 2016, let me tell you. But yeah, so that was kind of my intro to trading. And then later on, I entered some like stock trading competitions with like you guys, like with the family. And I remember the first one time, like we had $100 and we were going to see how much money we could make over like a course of a month, and whoever won got to keep all of the money from everyone. And so I remember trading some options, and like overnight, I went from like $100 to $400, and I was like, oh, this is amazing. I can now take 400 and go to 18. Well, guess how that went. Hey, exactly how that went. I went to zero. But that was my introduction to trading. And so when I started hearing, I came across, I don't even know, I came across some YouTube channels, started watching some like solid traders that, showed their wins, showed their losses. And it got me really interested into it. And I was unhappy with my job. So I was like, ooh, maybe I can turn this into a job someday. Long story short, much longer time frame than I actually thought. But that was kind of my journey into day trading, which then led me to, there was a guy that I really respected that recommended this company and their course. And so I was like, hey, Levi, you want to do this course with me? Because I already knew that trading with someone would be better and more fun. And so that's when I approached you and said, hey, you want to join me on doing this course with me about day trading?
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, and so we both shelled out a fair bit of money to take
Yeah, way
this
too much.
course. Yeah, yeah. Well, that kind of brings us to our next point, which is what we would do if we could do it over again. But we both spent a lot of money to take a course where a guy would sit down with us and, I don't know, a few times a week or every day. Was it every day?
It was
A couple
mostly every day.
hours.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, a couple hours. He was in London, so he was doing the London session. So I would wake up at like 4, and Jordan, you'd be up, you'd be kind of later at night because you're in Thailand. So yeah, and that's we did that for a few months. Eventually started trading because it was like a course and a prop firm, right? So, well, not a prop firm, but you'd pay the money, you take the course, and then they'd give you a small account to play with, and we both busted our accounts. So we both blew them up. That's when I lost 30 trades in a row the second I started playing with real money. And that's kind of sent us to the drawing board on, okay, what, like, you know, is this how we're supposed to be doing it? And that kind of actually started our process of rethinking a lot of our ideas about trading, about the, modern training scene. So,
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if I had to do it over again, sure, I could easily say, looking back, yeah, I wouldn't spend that bunch of money, and I'd invest it in a little bit in some other resources, and then save the rest and use it on prop firms while I practice for the next year or two. But the fact is,
mhm,
I don't really regret it in another way, because honestly, I don't think I would be here today without it, because the investment up front forced me to essentially put in the time, spend the time that it needed to get started. And I'll be honest, while I have some issues with the class and everything, the fact is our teacher was really good in the fact that he did teach us solid price action. It wasn't teaching us voodoo signals or anything like this. Like, it was solid price action, pattern recognition, support and resistance, etc. Like basics, but stuff that honestly is what you need in order to then develop your own trading style moving forward. And so in some ways it was good, but yeah, I would say number one thing, if I had to do it over again, don't spend the money on a course. Like, there is a couple that I think we're going to go into resources in maybe our next session. There are some resources that we'd
mhm.
recommended, but we're talking a few bucks, not hundreds or thousands of dollars. And so first thing, save yourself some money, take a step back, and be ready to then invest in some serious time, not money.
Hi, everyone. Levi here to ask you, if you like what you're hearing and haven't already, consider subscribing or dropping a review. We put this information out completely free, and we'll never ask you to buy a course, pay for a Discord, or any of the other garbage you're likely to hear from everybody else. So, if you think we've earned it, we'd be in your debt. I've seen. I was just watching. I don't know. I forget where this was, but I was watching some um, interviews. This person goes out on the street and asks people about their job, and asks them how much money they make, or asks them, interesting questions about the job. And I was watching one the other day, which made me think of this, which was she'd ask somebody, I forget what they did for a job, but ask them, hey, what would you tell someone who was, wanted to get into what you're doing, and didn't know where to start. And so I was thinking about that from a day trading perspective. And, if somebody came to me and said, hey, what would if I wanted to get into day trading, what would your advice be? And my advice, my first thing I would say to someone who wants to get into day trading is, okay, awesome. It is fun. I enjoy it. It is a good job, but it is a job that it has potentially high rates of return. And so as a result, it has a really high barrier of entry. And it's not something that you can stumble into by putting barely any time in. my first thing I would tell them is, well, if you want to get into day trading, be prepared to put in 1,000 hours before you're profitable. And if you're not, that's fine. Like it's okay to not want to put in 1,000 hours, but if you're not willing to do that, then you're probably not going to be profitable. Like and maybe you will be. I mean, maybe you're a genius. Geniuses exist. Like, I mean, maybe you're I don't know. Bradley Cooper from Limitless, and you're just saying you're some savant. I'm not. I mean, you're probably not. So unless you're willing to put in the time, don't bother, because it's the only way you're going to be profitable is by putting in a lot of time. And we've talked about this before, and kind of the screwed up nature of a lot of the guru training world, where they teach
Yes.
it like it's some sort of magic, information that they'll give you the magic sauce that no one else has, and all of a sudden you're going to be profitable. And we've talked about this at length before. It's just not true.
And that was like one of the issues that's one of my issues with the class that we took, because they're like, we're going to teach you this class in 2 or 3 months, and then we're going to give you this account, and the chances are high, it's up to you, but chances are highly likely you'll be successful. No, the chances are zero that you're going to be successful unless you're 1 in a million genius, right? Like the chance, like literally,
Yeah.
the chances are zero that you're going to be successful after 3 months.
Well, it's like we talked last time about piano. Like, they're
Yeah.
child prodigies that sit down at the piano, and they're flipping
Play
playing better than I'll
Beethoven at
ever
3.
play.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, it's like, okay, but I'm not that person. So, and you don't have to be that person. But the only way a normal person like you and I can be profitable is by putting in a lot of time. And so that would be the first thing I would say to someone who wants to get into it: be prepared to put in time. But here's the cool part. The cool part about day trading. There are financial markets open at all hours of the day, pretty much, right? If we're talking weekdays, there are financial markets in Asia, there are financial markets in Europe, obviously in the US. There are forex, there's commodities, there's crypto. They're like, you can day trade essentially anything,
And if you
and
want to trade
there's
crypto,
always
you can
markets
trade
open.
crypto on the weekends, even if you want.
Yeah,
I wouldn't recommend it, but you can.
yeah. So my recommendation, if somebody is willing to put in 1,000 hours, I would say get 2 hours every day, and you can work a 9 to 5. Just put in 2 hours. That's a movie. It's one movie, right? Put in a movie's worth of practice every day, just sitting in front of the markets and trading. And if you're, maybe trading a prop firm to give yourself some stakes and practice, and then trade 2 hours every day. And if you trade 2 hours for every day for 2 years, that's if you're trading during weekdays, that's 1,000 hours. So that will get you successful. But most people aren't willing to do that. And so that would be my first thing. I think there's a lot of false hope and false promises. And so the first thing I would tell somebody is, you can be profitable. But there's no shortcuts.
Yeah,
I'm
there's no
sorry.
shortcuts. And also, and don't let people say, oh, you got to trade the London session, or you got to trade the New York session. Like, no,
Oh yeah.
there's literally, like, pick a session, whatever time works for you. Pick that session and learn that session and stick with that session. Because honestly, don't try to bounce around like, oh, I've got some time today, I'm going to trade the New York, but then I'm going to trade the London, then I'm going to trade the Asian. It goes the same way. Like, like we've talked before, it's like jumping between golf clubs. Pick a session, master that session first before jumping to other sessions, because if you're bouncing around, like, each session acts differently. And so if you're going to be trading, the London session versus New York session, I mean, the way the market moves is very different. I'm very used to trading
Yeah.
London session, and like I get in the New York session, and sometimes, I'll trade with you, right? And it's like I'm completely lost. Like, I don't know what's going on. I'm like, I have no idea what these markets are doing, because I'm very used to the different kind of the consolidation and then breakout that you usually experience in London versus just the erratic up and down that you sometimes get in the New York. So yeah, pick a session, stick with it,
Yeah.
and then put in that 2 hours a day for 2 years. And that's when I'm confident. Like, unlike these prop firms, I can say you put in 2 years of 2 hours a day, and the chance of you being successful, very, very high.
Yeah. 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 Very, very high. Well, we talk about the 99%. The 99% won't do that. So you have to do that. I mean, like if people want the, the money making potential of day trading, well, just like anything with high potential, there is like, if everybody could do it, then there wouldn't be a high earning potential. The only reason there is a high earning potential is because not very many people can do it. But that can be a discouragement to you, or it can just be an encouragement, knowing that, oh, I just had to put in more time than 99% of people, and 99% of people won't put in 1,000 hours. I guarantee you. So
Yeah, I
if you
think the
do,
number actually,
you
like
can
I
be
actually think I
successful.
was listening to a podcast, and number is most people give up things after about 200 hours. So like
Yeah.
most people put in 200 hours, they get to the point where they can do something like basically, but they never excel at it because they never get past that 200 hours. So if you can push past that for the first 200 hours and hit 500, 750, like you're well on your way past essentially 90 to 95% of people, even after the first 200 hours. And it takes getting to that 1,000 hours to get past that 99% of people.